Hello, everybody. This is Love from Above with your Sibling Spirit Guides. I'm Maureen, and this is my brother.
Hey Maureen, hey everyone, this is Brian.
Hi, Brian. We're so happy to be here. If you can believe it, on this podcast, we share daily channelings we receive from star beings, ascended masters, mythical beings who really exist, and occasionally our ancestors. And boy, today we've got a lot of topics to discuss. Your divine shield, creating your own experience, and building confidence. Brian, where should we begin?
Well, yeah, this is sort of pulled from different times, but this first one was from back in August 7th of 2024 about it's messages from beings from another blue planet. And they start out, dearest one, we are here. We hail from another blue planet far from your galaxy. We come forth now with loving messages. We love that you applaud the chorus of love that surrounds you. This is a wealth that is often overlooked by humankind. The greatest wealth resides not in an unseen bank account, but in the details that surround you at all times. If you could see as we can, you would see that you are encased within a shield of your own divine creation. Each shield contains information that we can assess. It's like a chip on your credit card. We can, with one glance, look at your shield and know who you are at the deepest level of your soul. So let me stop there. So I think you mentioned to me that you met someone, I think on a plane or something, or we've actually met people, I think at a Dr. Joe thing too, that could do this. They could tell read people's aura, so to speak, or something like this, and they could tell, you know, just by looking at them, you know, what if they were, either, a positive person or just engrossed in fear and things like that, right?
Well, the thing that I remember about the plane, it was from a book that I read, and this guy, I forget the book, but this guy was in a plane crash, and he looked back, and not many people survived this plane crash. And he said, as people were dying, he saw like this light coming through the crown of their heads. And he said some people had very little light and other people had like a blazing, blaring light as bright as the sun. And from that moment on, he made a promise to himself that he wanted to carry the largest amount of light possible. So isn't that interesting, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And I've read the same sort of thing where people, I thought you told me this, but maybe I read it or something, but there's someone that used this in business and they could tell, someone's essentially aura, and then they just only dealt with people based on their aura, and not a negative. You could tell someone engrossed in fear, and then they were very successful in business just from that alone. So that was interesting.
Yeah, but they go on to say in this that we are also perceptive of the feelings. They say someone whose auric code matches yours is in alignment with who you are. They feel like a loving embrace. Others are embraces because this code, which goes unrecognized by humankind. So we are aware of that. Even if you meet a stranger, and you can meet somebody like for me on a plane and there's kind of like that instant connection, or there isn't, you're just like, oh gosh, this person gives me the creeps. And it's so we're aware of that, but obviously, we don't have the gifts that they do where with one glance they can look and really read us in complete detail.
That would be nice, though, huh? Save a lot of time sometimes, but yeah, no, it's all good.
Yeah, so I'll go on. They said beyond the first level of shield, there are others, each one reflecting a certain aspect of your being. The last being the final frontier, the highest attainment of your natural self. This is a field of divine light which shrinks and expands according to your loving presence. Those who live by fear shrivel their outer casements so that they resemble a hardened fruit that has been dried out. The more you let go and love and trust that every experience is tailor-made for your personal growth, the more you expand these and augment these energetic shields which surround your body. This is why it's so good to live by love instead of fear. You truly are more expansive, and the soul likes to feel that expansiveness. To be cramped feels like being entombed in one's own coffin. The problem is that those who seek expansiveness are rewarded for their efforts and expand more. And for reasons what even we do not understand, those who feed off of fear grow more and more withdrawn. You can witness this in your personal lives. So isn't that interesting that even they don't understand why um you either expand or withdraw. And I've always said that in life the choice between love and fear is binary. I really do feel like it's like on or off. It's and in most of life there's graduations, but I really do believe that it's binary. It's on or off. Are you choosing love or are you choosing fear?
Right.
And you can't be in fear if you're in love.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, we've read even about like we do that Merkaba meditation and that causes, a lot of light to be around you know, it, uh, to be around your body. And that, yeah, it's a great analogy, like the hardened, dried out fruit, you know, like I think of like a raisin or something like that, a prune versus, this expanse of light. So, it is very interesting to me. I know I've read something about this somewhere else. So it aligns with what else I've read, but I think it's very interesting.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a good life lesson. I'll go on with topic two, which is you create your own experience. It's from September 1st of last year. And this is from Aura, and they covered Buddha's teachings and human creation. They began by saying, there's nothing to be done that you have not accomplished before. Brian, I got to stop with this. This is a good channeling that you've picked because honestly, this one has stayed with me. I've thought about this since September 1st on many occasions. It says, it's unfortunate that humans forget the glories of their past incarnations. The sensory indication of past relationships flare often enough, but the lessons learned from those accounts are easily forgotten. And so the Mayan cycle continues to turn. We speak, of course, of the Celestian teachings of the one known of the Buddha. You may wonder at the reasons for incarnation of these luminous masters. There are many who come forth in every era. Spectacular feats go unrecorded as they may choose to live a quieter, more introspective life, which offers the same gifts as one in the public eye. Which, whoa, I mean, first of all, I want to say that I have thought about that. So, say you see something and you're like, oh gosh, wouldn't it be like life, wouldn't it be great to live life like that? Well, then I think, oh, I have. I just don't remember. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah,
I have. I've been Beyonce, I've been, whoever, Cleopatra. I mean, we've lived all of these because that's the whole purpose of life is to expand and love and different experiences. So we've already done it all.
absolutely. Yeah. Um, and it's interesting uh how they bring up the teachings of Buddha. Um, and I would ask what they said the like the Maya cycle continues to turn. Is that is that like the 12,000 years? I was
No.
gonna, is that what that is?
No, so Maya is a term in Buddhism, and that
Okay.
represents like the constant struggle. And the perfect analogy that uh, was provided for me was like it's like imagine like a wagon wheel that's not like perfectly shaped. And so like every time it goes around, there's like a little bit of a jostling, a little bit of jostling, a little bit of, and that's Maya. So in Buddhism, you know, it's that is the condition of life, is
Yeah,
Maya.
that's the one thing I don't like about Buddhism. You have to struggle, and I don't believe that's the case, but that's,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
no, that's one of that's one of the key principles is, life is suffering, and I agree with you. But that suffering that they talk about, that is called Maya, which yeah, so it's different from the Maya as the culture that
okay.
is in Mexico and the Yucatan and Belize and all. It's different from that culture. It's the constant turning of the struggle of life.
Okay.
Uh, but yeah,
So
so
then they go on to say this, this is our friend's aura. They say, we shall not speak of the numbers we prize today, thankfully, because they realize that's not our strength. We wish to continue in a new direction that has no relationship to our previous discussions. We serve on a panel that explores the sanctity of unexplored worlds. You may think that all has been discovered, but this is not true. For the one is always expanding and creating new worlds. This is as true on a micro level as on a macro level. So, in this way, one does not have to travel far to explore new lands. For new gateways open up in a rather limited fashion, but nearby to those that can see. New opportunity. So, seeing is the most prized capacity. Too often, humans fail to look up and truly notice what surrounds them. If you expect the familiar will appear. If you expect a new land, a keyhole unlocked with new opportunities, then shall burst forth into creation. This is the law. So before I was going to stop there, but I'll just finish up the last two thoughts here. So, who creates what you experience? You do, of course. However, there are others involved. This is partly the task of those that surround you to augment or to diminish the thoughts that you have sent forth in each day. We rush now to assist another. We thank you for your loving attention. So there's a lot to unpack there, but I love that, I just read a book about this too, and I totally believe this. But I mean, essentially, you create your own experience. So if I love that analogy, if you are expecting a new land, then it shall burst forth. If you're expecting this same old thing, the same old thing will appear. But it's amazing. You create your own experience on a daily basis.
you know what that reminds me of for me. So last year, my guides came through, and one of the key messages that I got for 2024 is inverse relationship between controlling and receiving. And all the travel planning that I did as a travel the world, they said when you get to a place, there's no travel planning. You just walk around, figure it out. And, so I'm in Bologna right now in Italy. And let me tell you, like, I used to watch like YouTube videos and know exactly what the city looked like. And now I'm just walking around and like happening into places and meeting people. And it's like so much more enjoyable to just like let go, let God, and just and have no expectations and then just be like, oh my God, look at this place. You know what I mean? It's just as opposed to studying everything and having expectations and kind of knowing what it's like and then experiencing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah, that's the way to do it too. Just sort of. if if you're too focused on, oh, I gotta do, I know what you mean. I am the same sort of way. I'm like, oh, here's the other things in the city got to do and trying to do too much. And if you just, relax and let things come to you, I think it's way better. But um, yes, I mean, it's just there's a lot. I really like this message from our friend Zora, so I think it was powerful. So yeah, I just had this one sort of bookmark that this was the same like you. That was a great message. So I'm just um, combine it with a few others for this week's pod.
Yeah, no, they're good messages. I mean, they're really good messages. I'll go into the next one, which just came in this week, on February 4th, 2025. And it begins by saying, how does one build confidence? The answer, of course, is faith, to trust that all is well, whether that is confidence in your own strength and abilities or confidence and faith in the divine and the trust of the one creator. A partnership with the brethren of divinity origins offers you an opportunity to see how life should work on your planet when one easily offers supports for another. We shall provide analogy. Maureen walked by a man living in the cold on 4 occasions yesterday. The man asked for money is the currency for obtaining all in your present culture. But the man did not need money as much as he required companionship. A simple question of how are you? How can I help? Of course, such a situation would never occur in the higher realms, for when one suffers, the entire nation is brought to that particular level. There is a saying within your culture that the individual represents the whole. So in this case, a man living in the cold represents the entire nation of which you live. To lift up a brother or sister, whether a loved one, a friend, a colleague, this is the attitude required to achieve the peace and harmony which you strive to attain. And just got to stop and tell you about that guy. So at the grocery store by my hotel in Bologna, Italy, there's a guy who's got a suitcase outside the front door, and let me tell you, Brian, he is like the happiest person I know. He is so happy. He is so joyful. And it's cold in Bologna, and he's sitting on the ground on the cement, and he is so happy. I can't really communicate with because my Italian is limited to excuse me, thank you, and hello. But wow, he is just so happy.
That's great. Yeah. So you bumped into or you saw him every time you go in the grocery store and
Yeah, and he would be like, salve, salve. And so then, and I didn't have any change. And so I got change to give him, and then he could tell by my very limited Italian that I was, that English was my base language. He's like, thank you is how you say it in your language. I'm like, yes, thank you, thank you. And so anyway, it's amazing, like when you are traveling overseas, like you can have a conversation, with just, just a few words. You can create with the hand gestures and everything like that. But let me tell you, he is just, and I'm going to go to the grocery store after we're done recording this, and I'll run into him again. He's got his suitcase there. I don't know. He must live in the grocery store, and it is cold here in Bologna. But he is so joyful, and he is joyful than more joyful than 90% of the other people that I meet during the day, which is such a beautiful thing, you know?
yeah, right, right.
Yeah.
That's great. So then I thought I'd close with I mentioned I just read this book about the same sort of thing. So again, this was another channeling book, but it was called Choose Your Universe, an Exercise in Freedom by Robin Jelinek. Um, and it says in there, it says, people ask, if I'm going to be happy, how do I get out of these situations I don't like? Focusing on what you do like is the only way out. You don't get away from an unhappy situation by being unhappy about it, blaming and pointing fingers and deciding it's awful. that may clear you of the things you don't like, but when you're focused on what makes you unhappy, you attract the same quality back to you again. Instead, put your focus on what you do want, what does make you happy, and by doing this, anything that's not a match to that focus will disappear from your experience. Um, and so I just think that sums it up. I mean, it's, you attract the energy that you put out. So if you're unhappy, you're going to attract more unhappy people in your life and more unhappy experiences. So it sounds easy. I know it's not always in the moment easy to do, but I do try. And even when, of course, we live with contrast in our life, things always don't go perfectly, but, sort of brush it aside and focus on, something more positive. How about yourself?
I was thinking of Neville Goddard. Oh gosh, what a blessing he was. For those of you who don't know, I mean, he's written a bunch of books and he lived probably what, like 100 years ago. And yeah, I learned from him just go to the end. So you're worried about something. Okay, so say for me, tomorrow I'm traveling to a new city in Italy. Say I would be worried about that. Just to go to the end of that experience and imagine like how glorious it's going to be and just go to the end and don't worry about how it's going to just go to the end of it and just see it all being a success. And I think also for me, we talked about this in a recent podcast where the angel said, just put everything in a garbage bag and just give it to us. That's what we're here for. And so I do like to since we got that message just a few weeks ago, I do like to do that. Just stuff. Okay, here, guys, here. Oh, but remember, Brian, they laughed so hard at me when I called them guys. I've got to stop calling them guys. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
They were like, we're used to great terms of adoration, not, hey guys, come pick up on my
You have to
words.
use a Texas term, hey, y'all.
Hey y'all, I need your help. But yeah, this is a good reminder, and there's so many teachings on this, whether it's Wayne Dyer or Neville Goddard. I mean, there's just Saint Germain. I mean, there's just so many different ways that are saying same things, and I have been listening to my thoughts since 2000, since 2000, I think 18. And boy, when I started listening to it, it was one of the hardest things I've ever done, Brian. One of the hardest things. When you start listening to your thoughts going through your head, you're like, what? 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 Stop that. Do you remember the moment when you started listening to your thoughts?
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, the negative self-talk and that type of thing. Yeah, you gotta not focus on
Or
that.
the judgment of others, I mean,
Yeah,
it's like, what? No, we love everybody. Stop.
right, right.
Um, yeah, so, but thank you for this, brother. Masterfully put together. And next week we're going to be talking about how to use your meals to elevate your vibration.
All right. Looking forward to that one.
Okay. Love to everybody.
Bye, everyone.